I'm Gemma Duckett and I'm here with Bill English today.
How are you, Jim?
Good, thank you.
Good to meet you.
How did studying commerce at the University of Otago help to start your career after graduation?
Well, it gave me some basic technical skills. I initially went into farming and then ended up in government as Minister of Finance. It's invaluable. Some of the accounting concepts, like a balance sheet, are very powerful ways of understanding how the world works, not at a small business like a farm, but also at a large scale like a government.
What lessons have you learned from managing the finance portfolio?
Oh, just how important a dollar is because we see people who work so hard to hand it over to government, and then how much we need business type disciplines in public sector, because public sector is just a series of monopolies, and without disciplines it's hard to make sure you're getting value for money. You can have a big impact on people's lives if you do it well, and waste the money if you do it badly.
How did your tertiary education prepare you for the responsibilities you now manage?
Well, I had a mixed education of commerce and English literature, so I learnt both the technical skills and the power of stories. And politics is about getting the blend of those things, because we get to tell a political story that has to be motivating for people, but then we get the responsibility in government of essentially running very large businesses, very large enterprise, and that's where the commerce and accounting skills have come in, and particularly the notion of investment, which I think is quite a powerful one when applied to people as well as to businesses.
From an accounting finance perspective, what makes work challenging in the public sector?
Oh, the fact that these are monopolies, and not just monopolies, they're eternal monopolies. There's always going to be a public education system, there's always going to be a public health system, and so they don't face the threats that a business does. There's no competitive threat. Doing poorly is often rewarded. The problem gets bigger, so they need even more money to try and deal with the problem. And they don't have to get the money, they don't have to persuade people to give them the money. It just comes through the tax system. So the real challenges are getting a positive focus that's on getting results in an environment which is not really designed to do that.
Previously you worked at Tertiary. How did this and private sector experience prepare you for the responsibilities you now have in government?
Oh, it was absolutely vital. I don't think I could be an effective politician without that kind of background. I mean, I went in politics fairly young, so between the ages, 18 and 28, I packed a lot in. Fortunately, everything from learning how to shear a sheep through to understanding the makeup of GDP when I was in the Treasury. So that breadth of that experience has been a fantastic base for being a politician.
What should students be doing to enhance their skill set for employment outside of achieving good grades?
Look, I'd get the soft skills, and it's something I think I missed out on a bit when I was at university. I saw accounting as a bit much of a kind of dry ball, separate little world, when just down the street there's businesses where they're applying it. And I see some young people today really challenging themselves by thinking they can start a business, getting involved, being in a business, travelling overseas to take the amazing opportunities that are available these days through exchanges and internships. But just get that challenge yourself about applying the concepts, because the reason we have them is to be used, not just to be studied, and look at the soft skills, particularly around relationships, because in business, having trusted relationships is absolutely key to success, but you've got to learn how to make that happen.
What skills will be critical for students in the next 10 years?
I think one technical skill that's really coming to the fore is around the use of data and the analysis of it, trying to understand what this torrent of information adds up to. Because we didn't used to have to do that. There wasn't much information, you had to go and find it, it was specialised. But you've got more computing power on your phone than they had on the computers that sent the first Apollo to the moon. So it's understanding how to deal with vast flows of information where you can't possibly know it all, and you have to understand its relevance to your business or your enterprise.
How can New Zealand continue to innovate and grow new export markets?
Well, look, mainly through the young people coming into the workforce, because you need a rate of businesses going out of businesses and new ones being born. And the new ones, I'm really impressed with among our younger people, their understanding and favourable view of business quite different than 30 years ago. And I just see so many fantastic young people with lots of ideas. Look, 90% of them won't work, but that's how you find out about the 10% that do. So I think the growth of innovation in New Zealand is underway. We're getting momentum. It's the best time for graduates in a long time to come out of a commerce faculty and get into business.
What has been the highlight of your career to date?
Well, that's a good question. I think working in the team led by John Key. I mean, I've been Finance Minister for 8 years. I still enjoy going to work with a positive, forward-looking team, and that's to a large extent because of the outstanding leadership of the Prime Minister, and also getting the government's books into surplus, one of the few developed countries who've managed that.
Finally, you have been the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance since 2008. What advice do you have for students aspiring to these roles in the future?
Well, they might not expect this advice, but I would say make time for your family and relationships, because it puts you in much better state yourself to handle the pressures that go with the modern world of work, keeps you grounded, and in the long term though there's lots of things you'll achieve that come and go, aren't recognised by everybody else, but with your relationships and your family, that's with you forever. So make sure you focus on that a bit alongside the ambition. But also just you decide on the possibilities. Often people limit themselves by thinking there's things I can't do. Well, that's not the world we're in. There's a whole lot of things you can do.
Thank you very much for coming today, Bill English, and thank you very much for your time.
It's been a pleasure.